Another in our series on older cemeteries. This one only goes back to 1922 or thereabouts. We'll go for an explore. Before chapels were built at cemeteries, there's a place you can park the hearse in case the weather's off. I'm not sure if it has any meaning, but it's an octagonal shaped building, not dissimilar to the early Orthodox churches of Byzantium, but there you go. Let's hit the gravestones. And as happens with these older ones and larger ones, it's divided by denomination. And here we have Thomas Wilson, died in 1927, and his Mrs. Juanita died in 1967. It's a full 40 years, almost 40 and a half years after Tom. And there's a certain regularity to the style. 1920s, I guess people were starting to avoid the buoyant and effusive type grave markers. Bit of a view over the cemetery. It's not overly large, considering it's for Devonport, which was the fourth city at the time. What does surprise me at this early stage, I get to see an Anzac grave, which is unusual in this part of the world. You can see what I mean by the regularity of the grave markers. There's some variation in the headstone styles, but the plots themselves are very definitely regular in shape and design. And in complete contrast to the earlier one we were looking at, Martha died in 1940 and then Charles in 42. Yeah. Now this one's a little odd. You can see the nameplates fallen off the back there. If we zoom in, you'll see that it's in, I believe it's Chinese. The very first one I've seen on the northwest, and somewhat segregated from the rest of the cemetery. People were funny. People still are funny, I guess. And as you can see, there aren't that many that stick out above your standard. There is one up there, which we might go and have a squiz at. We have the funeral urn draped in a shroud, and the plinth in loving memory of Julia Pierce, died 1926 at 75, and William Pierce, died 1930, age 85. I have no reason to have no explanation as to why this one's so big. I spy the back of one over there, which has been interesting in other cemeteries. That was in the other cemeteries, that pattern was for children. This is for someone who was that 31, 1923. No cause of deaths, just people die, I guess. It was only a matter of time, I guess. Charles Ernest Hannum, accidentally killed on March the 29th, aged 14 years and 10 months. There are stories here. It's taken a little while, but here we have Jacob Morley, died 1924, and also in loving memory of Louis, their son, killed in action in France in August 1918. So very close to the end. And then Lewis's mum, Anne, who lived until 1944. It had an effect across so many so many families. Now, this one's in memory of Charles Henry Norton, 1st of August 1926 as a 21-year-old. The clue might be that it was erected by the members, players and supporters of the Devonport Football Club, which would suggest that he was a member and a player. He's a 21-year-old and it is the middle of the season. So who knows what happened there. You know, drop a comment. I'll have a bit of a dig through Trove as well. And we have here one of the shield shapes from the 20s, as it turns out, not the 40s as I once thought. Albert Foster Leake, born 1906, died 1928. Thy will be done, yeah. Impressive piece of marble. Now there's one of an unusual design. We might go and have a look at that. We are, after all, in the Anglican section, so not surprising that there'd be a cross. It's unusual to have the name markers laid on the sides like that. In loving memory of Arthur Caplen Hall, District Surveyor of Devon, 1898 to 1935. Died August 25th, 1935, aged 69. There's his good lady wife Laura, who died at 64 in 1942. It's Devon. You will note that we are at the Devonport General Cemetery. The thing is, Tasmania was split up into 18 counties, all named after English counties. It was the most English copying of all the colonies. I'll put a link to the info on that in the notes. And here we have one of the official AIF plaques. William Toll, 1st Australian General Hospital. He would have seen much unpleasantness. But he did live through the war and passed away during the next one. Definitely Anglican, sheltered by the Rock of Ages. Minnie Kenny was 74 in 1950 and Stephen was 82 and 53. But also remembered their grandson, Kenneth O'Mara of Botany Bay, New South Wales. Died as 7-year-old in 31. Very strange that it was still called Botany Bay. There you go, and their daughter Lucy Muckridge, who made it to 79. Now this is Private Olsen, 26th Battalion, who passed away in 49, but if you look at the top there, next to the word private, it has the number 15, the 15th person to sign up for the AIF. Wow. He would have seen some action. Particularly when we compare the number with Sapper Charles Bilson, 5499. The first tunnelling company he would have seen. Wow. They laid mines and whatnot under the opposition's trenches. Late of Waratah, lest we forget. Lest we forget indeed. No mention of our partner here, but there you go. Sarah Grace, youngest daughter of the late Charles and Mary Huntington. Now Sarah was 59 when she left. One would imagine she had been married with a change of surname like that. But who's to know? Another little conundrum. Okay, so we've got William Douglas, dropped off in 1949 at 82. I'd imagine it's his brother Charles, 71 in 49 as well. And then Susanna, wife of William, who made it to 103. So that means she'd have been born in 1861. Wow. Would have been a fair way out of town when this cemetery was set up. It's now very much in an industrial area. Okay, so in loving memory of our dear mother Elsie May, Relicet of the late A.T. Morley, who died in 19... she'd passed away in 43. I'm not sure what a Relicet is. I must have a squiz. I'll put the results in the show notes below. And here we have another one standing out from the mass of graves. Doesn't appear to be anyone of any particular note. James Thomas Maloney and Violet Elizabeth Maloney. He passed in 47 at 52, she passed in 76, nearly 30 years later at 81. I guess that's impressive. A few more on this side of the main path. We've got a little bit more difference about them. We'll go for a walk. 1053 Private William Barnes, 26th Battalion. Only made it to 1929. There seem to be a lot more 26th Battalion here, and I haven't seen any of the 20th or the 60th. There must have been a recruiting boundary. And as I say, it's an industrial, that's the council depot over the back there. The light industrial area of Devonport. Here's one of the simpler ones. Loving memory of Henry Thomas Moore, loved husband of Helen. Died the 17th of December 1931, at the age of 56. Simple, but touching. A little bit of extra design work in the top left corner there. But Alan passed away in 32 at 57, and then Minnie joined him in 76, 54 years later, as a 92-year-old. She should have been in her 40s when Alan bundled off. People's lives. Okay, another Relicet. Kate, Relicet of the late Thomas Cotton. Died the 6th of December 1949. I really have to find out what that word means. Now, in all those graves that I've walked by, here and the other places, there are very few that are still visited by the looks of them. Some are. Just wonder what it says about us. Probably says we're a highly mobile population that changes where we live quite often, and so we don't have the time to get back. And that's a photograph of the deceased. Okay, so Hedley Bratton passed away on the 2nd of January 63 as a 49-year-old, late of the RAAF. And then his good lady wife. Age 96, together at last. I don't have a date for Jessie. Remember in one of the other cemetery episodes I was talking about how you don't see names anymore that often. Certainly Cyril, and definitely Wynyard as a first name, or a Christian name if you like. Middle name in this occasion. You don't see those very often at all these days. In fact, I have never recalled anyone called Cyril. F.W. Rutherford, 2nd 14th Infantry Battalion. So he was part of the 2nd AIF. Not sure which division the 14th was attached to. But he made it to Corporal. And again, he was only 48 when he bundled off in 55. I just wonder what people have been through. We have a Tasmanian gunner, Second World War, from the Army number there, TX6704. Gunner Stevens from the 56th Composite Anti-Aircraft Regiment, Royal Australian Artillery. Made it to 64 as a 62-year-old. Dearly loved and sadly missed by wife Ada, as one would imagine. That was in 64. and Ada joined him in 1988. 26 years. And even an officer, Lieutenant George. Doesn't say which infantry battalion, just infantry battalion. Someone else who passed in the 60s, age 66. Second World War veteran. His age gaps fascinate me. Francis George Keating passed away in 1965, and his good lady wife Caplen in 2010. What's that, 45 year difference. It's truly long time to be without that person you love. And we have a section here for child graves that I won't disturb too greatly. But this one for Stephen Rodman is still well attended and looked after. And he passed away in 1966. Yeah. That's a tough one. Joseph and Sarah, both buried in Devonport, but Joseph came from Macclesfield and Sarah from Bury, or Bury, I'm not sure how that's pronounced, in England. Finish off with this one. It's Charles Ramsey, loving husband of Alice, who died in 1923 at 61. Then Alice 13 years later, 77. And then Alan Ramsey, son of the above, in 68 as a 78-year-old. With the sun shining on it, it's quite an impressive stone. The lead work's still in. Very nice way to finish up, I think.